now proudly presented on SNME. That's Sunday night's main event, Patreon and free feed. Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy, George McKay, back here on the MLW Rewind. If you're listening on SNME, Patreon, and free feed, welcome. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome. If you're listening on any other podcast platform, welcome. This is the MLW Rewind, and I never do this alone. I always do this with not my better half, but a half, Uncle Bobby B.
Thanks, I think. Yeah, and if it's not me, it's somebody else. Like, thanks to Michelle, the voice, for stepping in after Fury Road. I appreciate that.
Well, we actually have to get into that real quick before we jump into this week's episode. So Michelle and I were reviewing Fury Road, and it's available on across all these amazing platforms. So you can check it out. Go back and listen to me and the voice talk about how epic Fury Road was and how much we enjoyed it. But she had some choice words about the pedicure procedures of a one Mr. Saint Laurent. Now, I don't want to dredge up anything that may hurt Saint Laurent's feelings in any way, but his foot was deformed before Mance Warner took a chunk out of it. And that's factual. And the voice called him out on that, to which there was a Twitter battle that ensued, or an X battle, I guess, an X battle that ensued. And it went back and forth to possibly a chess game with a pigeon. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going around, but kudos to the voice for hanging tough with the head of the WTF. And no, that's not what the fuck. That stands for World Titan Federation.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, Rob, I know you don't have X or you don't utilize X, but I did fill you in on the exploits of the epic X battle that was. What do you think? Do you think that the voice was right about Saint Laurent's foot and how nasty it was?
I mean, he's a busy guy. He's out and about doing things. Your feet are bound to get pretty beat up. I don't know if I want to be taking sides there, to be honest with you.
You're gonna just stay in the gray area.
I'm going Swiss on this one. I'm just staying impartial.
Staying impartial, fair enough. I also want to give kudos to Matt Stryker. We mentioned it in the review show, but to point out that Matt Cardona's foot was a completely different color was also epically fantastic, because the tanner really didn't reach Cardona's feet. So yeah, if you're gonna tan that, if you're gonna go with that dark, if you're gonna be an 8 like Ross Geller, you got to 8 the whole thing. You can't just not 8 the feet. You have to 8 the whole thing. You have to do it. You know what I mean? You get it. You understand.
I get it.
I get it. All right. Moving on. My friend's joke didn't seem to land as well as I thought it would. But anyways, this is the fallout from Fury Road. And what a fallout it was. We start off talking again about another man's feet. That's right. We're at the WTF headquarters, or the World Titan Federation headquarters. We're in MSL's office, and he is not happy. He has bare bones, pasty white foot all over his desk. And he's talking about how his general practitioner sent him to a vet for a rabies shot because Mance Warner bit him. And he's not an orangutan, but he feels that he is the greatest promoter ever. And Mance Warner, he broke the deal. It was kiss my foot, not mutilate my foot. Matt Cardona's coming for the SGC, and when he does, there will be hell to pay. Then he yells off camera about someone to get a nurse to change his bandage, which I guess he was in the middle of changing before the promo began. But Rob, what do you think about the words of the now world's greatest promoter before we get into his announcement only a few minutes later, live on air? So we had a promo in his office that somehow he made it all the way to Philly to cut a promo in the ring.
Like that. You know, he's got a Learjet clearly that flies at the speed of sound. Or speed of light, I should say.
Absolutely.
But no, it was I actually like this transition with more on-screen time for Mr. Saint Laurent, kind of his own faction now. I dig it. He's pretty creative with the stuff he says. It's a lot of like oddball off the wall stuff, and I love it. So I'm stoked to see what happens with this World Titan Federation, because we'll get some more on that almost immediately.
Absolutely, but first thing, we got to announce our main event for tonight, and that is, Rob, I'm going to let you take the front on this one. How do you pronounce this gentleman's name?
Shigehiro Irie.
Yeah, Irie is going to throw down with the one and only Calvin Tankman for the WXW Unified Heavyweight World Championship. So that'll be a barn burner, and it was absolutely one hell of a fucking match. And now, like Rob said, immediately going into that announcement, MSL's in the ring, and he is disgusted that he's back in Philly. But he introduces the newest member of the WTF. Again, that's not what the fuck. That is the World Titan Federation. And it is... and he also made an announcement that he resigned his position in office with MLW. He has now been given a promoter's license by the MLW Commission. And the newest member of the WTF is none other than, it's not his fault, Snitsky. Rob, what did you think about the giant that is Snitsky being announced as the newest member of the WTF?
I mean, Mr. Saint Laurent's making moves. What can I say? We knew Snitsky was coming back, but now he's got that representation. And then he came out and just beat the hell out of poor oh god, what was that guy's name again?
Lucifer L. I was actually going to get
Lucifer L. Thank you.
This was, like you were saying, this was a straight up squash match. Clothesline, and then he got boot fucked in the face by Snitsky, a power slam, then a ridiculous height-wise choke slam. I mean, Snitsky is 6'6", and he lifted this guy almost close to 8 feet up in the air before he dropped him down for the easy 1, 2, 3. This is literally and figuratively a huge statement win and a huge acquisition for the World Titan Federation. I mean, you can't be called the Titan Federation without having literal titans. So when you think about Matt Cardona, Davey Boy Smith Jr., and now Snitsky, this is literally mountains among men. Would you agree?
That is a titanic lineup.
Oh, well played. All right. Hey, you know what? Unlike you, I can give you credit when a dad joke lands.
What do you mean, unlike me?
Well, you just no-sold my...
You can't even give credit to the greatest pop star of our generation. So
that's Rob. She's not on this episode. We're leaving it alone. We are leaving it alone. It was a breath of fresh air at the review show not to have to fight with you. You tone deaf son of a bitch. We are not going into that.
Hot summer fun.
Fucking idiot. All right. Anyways, after this match, MSL and Snitsky are hugging or embracing off to the corner, and he whispers something in Snitsky's ear. Snitsky gets a shit-eating grin on his face, and he goes over and knocks Mr. L, who was being stretchered out of the arena, out of the stretcher, and continues to beat him down. And then Saint Laurent, after L is beat down, Saint Laurent gives a couple quick kicks before he points at his acquisition, and they eventually do leave the ring entrance area.
Shades of Sid Justice in the build up to WrestleMania 8, just like demolishing guys on stretchers after the match. I thought it was a cool little touch there. It helps reinforce the fact that Snitsky is ruthless. He enjoys inflicting pain on others, and Mr. Saint Laurent enjoys directing that pain on others.
Fair enough. That's a fair assessment. And you know what? I would put Snitsky and Saint Laurent as a modern day Sid Justice and Bobby the Brain Heenan. I actually would. I would compare MSL with Big Bobby for sure. I would.
Or would you compare him to Harvey Whippleman, aka Downtown Bruno?
Yeah,
who
like
was Sid's manager for that WrestleMania 8 kind of run there.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I would give it to yeah, it would be like if Whippleman and Bobby the Brain Heenan had a one night stand, Saint Laurent would be the love child of said one night stand.
Okay, so it's like Harvey Whippleheenan. I gotcha.
Yeah, I like that. Harvey Whippleheenan. That's trending. Let's make that trend, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make a trend. All right. So the big announcement too. I mean, Saint Laurent is all over the early goings of this episode, and he was all over Fury Road because the big announcement in the first episode of Sessions with Saint Laurent, which I hope becomes a staple as we go deeper into these fantastic pay-per-views that MLW is throwing together. Salina de la Renta is back in MLW. Big return. And we got a little highlight reel package of all the people that she fucked over. That's right. One after the other. Everyone that she aligned herself with that ultimately screwed because she is forever the ultimate opportunist. But in her words, to quote her words, the bitch of MLW is back. And I cannot wait to see who she brings to Slaughterhouse October 14th. And I'm looking forward to seeing which luchador she brings through the doors. And with all the stuff that MLW is doing now with WXW, also the big announcement at Fury Road being that New Japan we know is coming, and Minoru Suzuki is coming. And we get a huge announcement at the end of this show as to who wants to challenge Suzuki. And I think Rob and I already thought that this was who was going to be the challenger, but it was still cool to see it actually come to fruition and be the challenger. But we'll get to that a little bit later. It was at the very end of the episode. Salina de la Renta, forever the ultimate opportunist. Rob, what do you think about the Queen Bee of MLW making her triumphant return after 3 years? Like when we started this podcast, she was just on her way out. So you really didn't get all the sprinkle that was Salina de la Renta. But now you're in for a real treat.
Hard to believe we've been doing this 3 years. Holy smokes. But yeah. She's been out of wrestling, it seems like, for a little bit. She's been doing the OnlyFans thing with Alicia. They had a lot of success doing that. So I'm happy to see her. Hey, I'm happy to see anybody who used to wrestle come back to wrestling, like rediscover that passion, fuck some more people over. You know what I mean? Like that's what pro wrestling is all about. So be great to see what they do with Serena, add a little more spice to that featherweight division, if you will.
Absolutely. She's going to be bringing in some marquee talent. And again, if you don't know who she's made enemies with, one is Cesar Durant, who is incognito still. Another one would be Conan. Another one would be King Midas. Another one would be, there's just a list. There's a list. King Muertes, sorry. There's a list of people that she's screwed over.
She's
got a fair amount of enemies on her short list. And it's too bad that Alicia is not still doing the backstage correspondent, because they had great chemistry and hating one another. But I can't wait to see how she interacts with Sam Laterna, because as we know, Salina de la Renta likes to be the only woman in MLW that matters in her eyes. So her and Sam Laterna are definitely going to have some battles when those backstage interviews do happen, 100% for sure. But the one thing I will say is that if Salina pushes Sam's got wrestling training. Alicia never had any wrestling training, but she did get in the ring with Salina, and she gave it her best. Didn't really work, but she gave it her best. But Sam does have pro wrestling training, and I believe if that happens, Sam will have no problem stepping through the ropes to smack Salina de la Renta in the face. I'm calling it now. 100%.
Sam can go. She works out. She's fit. She doesn't take any BS from anybody. Like I wouldn't want to be on the bad side of Sam Laterna.
Absolutely not. And if you want to get more in-depth information about Sam Laterna, well, your boy just dropped an interview with Sam Laterna, a conversation, if you will, on the Straight Talk page. It came out literally 2 days ago. So check it out. It's available everywhere, including SNME, like we said, and all that good stuff. So check it out if you want to get, it's quick, short, sweet, but it's an awesome 15-minute conversation that I really, really enjoyed. And I can't wait to have Sam back on the show. Now, Calvin Tankman, he cuts a promo, and he's talking about the partnership between MLW and WXW. And he pretty much tells Irie to make sure his mouthpiece is in, make sure it's locked in tight, because he's going to knock it out, and then he's going to knock him out, and he's going to take his unified world championship by any means. And does the whole, throat slash thing. Calvin Tankman cutting some serious heat on this promo. It got me hyped for this match. Rob, Calvin Tankman has kind of been MIA in MLW for a little bit since the falling out with EJ and Duca, and Duca got taken out by the calling. But he's back, and he wants to cut his teeth in the singles run again. He wants to go back to basics, as he called it. What's your thoughts on Calvin Tankman's promo and how he really made me look even more forward, or if he made you look more forward to this match that was coming up later on in the show?
I was already pretty stoked, because it's two kind of like, Irie is a pretty big dude, and Tankman is a tank, man. So I was already pretty stoked, but I enjoyed this promo. Tankman set out what he was there to do. He said, I'm gonna win by any means necessary. I was really, really excited for this match. I knew it was going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And now we go back to the ring, and Matt Striker's at the center of the ring, and he is, in Joe Dabrowski's words, going to do some investigative reporting. And before he even gets started really on talking about why he's standing in the center of the ring, he's interrupted by FBI, who's in action tonight in a trios match, and they bring out their mystery partner, which is none other than Jesus Rodriguez. You may know him as claim to fame for him was being Alberto Del Rio's personal ring announcer. And they're taking on the main event and Microman. So as Joe Dombrowski coined them, Micromania. And I actually thought that that nickname was pretty cool. And Rob and I both did get to see Main Event and Microman in action a few weeks ago in Toronto at the Man Lucha. Was a fantastically awesome show. Microman we are so hyped about Microman. We love Microman, but seeing Microman live, it hits so different. He is so fantastically talented. And when he's in the ring, especially with the talent that he was in the ring at the Man Lucha, who has some of the best homegrown and they bring in some of the best imported talent. It's one great show. If you're ever in Toronto, I highly recommend Demand Lucha to every single person. It's on a Thursday, but it's a great 2.5 hours, and it doesn't even feel like 2.5 hours. And it's such a welcoming, great venue, and it's got high ceilings so the luchadors can do all their crazy shit and not have to worry about knocking themselves out.
And you can breathe.
Yes, you can. And it doesn't smell like BO because it is air conditioned and heated.
So well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's pro wrestling fans. I've never been to a show with no BO.
This is fair.
Just
fair
and I'm not singling any promotion. Like it's just it's there needs to be like a deodorant night. I
guess the way I was describing it is that it's a little bit more spacious.
Oh yeah, Parkdale Hall, spacious.
You don't really get a full whip of BO all the time. There's spaces.
No, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, there's spaces where there is no BO. Anyways, we're getting off tangent, but they interrupt Matt Striker, and they stop him, and but Main Event quickly cuts them off because Rodriguez is talking about how Latinos and Italians, they're all the same. Guido was doing little Guido things. He was mimicking Microman by dropping on his knees. Him and Ray Jazz, all three of these guys are very electric with their, especially Ray Jazz and little Guido. The fact that they weren't really on the mic and Rodriguez was on the mic, but they were doing so much little fantastic things around him that it made this promo 10 times better than it would have been. And this is no shot at Rodriguez. Just if Rodriguez was talking, they were beside him kind of nodding their heads. It would have just been a blob promo. But the fact that they were doing all the little over animated things really elevated the hype of this match as well.
They were selling the promo. You don't just sell matches, you sell everything. They were selling that promo. It was great.
They absolutely were. And the Main Event and Microman comes out. And this one was entertaining as it possibly could be. I mean, little Guido got bit in the butt. Microman told FBI to shut the fuck up and then poked both of them in the eyes. Main Event was Main Event. They were just phenomenal, flying all over the place. And it was just amazing. And they pulled out the win, all three of them. And as they're celebrating, Sam Adonis comes out and he is throwing all kinds of shade at Microman. He pretty much talked about how Microman was run out of AAA, how he actually left his wife and his newborn baby because Microman was jealous of the attention the baby was getting. And at that point, Sam Adonis steps in the ring and Main Event is ready to go. Microman is ready to go. But who shows up? MSL and Snitsky. So Snitsky double chokeslams Main Event, takes them out of the equation, if you will. And then it's Snitsky, Adonis, and MSL just doing everything they possibly can to pin down Microman. They do. And then MSL's got like a potato sack with him and he pours it out and it's a couple of little dolls. And he's telling Snitsky, who was once a great college football player and a great punter, to punt these dolls before they punt Microman. And just as they're about to punt Microman, literally, Sam Adonis is holding him by the feet, has his head planted on the ring. Snitsky is lining up, and SGC finally shows up, make the save, and Microman is saved, and everyone kind of scurries away. But the damage was done. The damage was done. And before we get into your thoughts on all of this, Sam Laterna is waiting for Sam Adonis backstage, talking about what just transpired. And he says that he wants to do what everyone in Mexico wants him to do, which is make sure Microman never steps foot in an MLW ring again. So next week, this was announced moments after, next week, we are getting Sam Adonis, Microman, MLW Fusion next week. That's going to be awesome. But Rob, what did you think about everything from, we talked about the first promo, so we'll forget about that, but from the match to all this shit that transpired before SGC saved the day and literally saved Microman?
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. The match itself was enjoyable. I really I was chuckling with Jesus Rodriguez explaining the similarity between Italians and Latinos. He was like, you guys are the original Latinos. And he was going on. Like, I was being of Italian descent, that made me chuckle more than once. We got the same colors, you know, all this stuff. Fun match. interesting conclusion there. We're building up some new rivalries and feuds. Some new blood comes in every year and at the open draft, so it's almost like a little reset for things. But yeah, there was a lot going on, but it was all good. I mean, it was an enjoyable, all these segments. I was digging it.
Absolutely, this was a great much like a Raw after WrestleMania. MLW seems to knock it out of the park with the fusion right after. Never Say Never was amazing, and now the fusion after Fury Road was phenomenal as well. And we're building to that with another great expose. Their production team is fantastic. We always shout them out. They're amazing. And these exposés that they do are completely incredible. And this one on Alex Kane was probably my favorite one, hands down. He got real, he got sentimental, he got honest, talked about being bullied, talked about his parents having, relationship problems when he was younger, talked about the fact that he was picked on for his race, picked on for the way he looked, picked on for a lot of things. And at the early age of only 10 years old, did he contemplate suicide? And I myself have been there literally 2 years ago. And he talked about how it's cliche to say that pro wrestling saves lives, but in his eyes, pro wrestling literally did save his life. It was incredible to watch the journey of everything that transpired at Never Say Never, from the backstage footage to after winning the title and then recruiting Bougie, which is the newest member of the Bomaye Fight Club. Everything was just fantastic, but this expose was 7 minutes of nothing but pure enjoyment. They could have made a whole 48-minute episode just on this expose, and I would have absolutely loved it. And I hope there is a part 2 of this one. But this kudos to the production team. Kudos to Alex Cade for being real and being honest and sharing that and on a platform such as big as that. But to let you know that, pro wrestling does save lives, and pro wrestling does make connections in this world that are deeper than most people know. And everything about this expose was just phenomenal. Rob, what'd you think about the Alex Cade expose, man?
Loved it. When you have Alex isn't necessarily a good guy, but he was just kind of open and bare and honest and talking about some of the stuff that we talked about with him, like when he knew Bomaye was really for the people and was really taken off, and he, we said it, he made himself undeniable with his in-ring work, with his promos, with the way he got over with the crowd. He made himself undeniable. He deserves all the credit he's getting and where he's at right now. And I loved just learning a little bit more about him. And like you said, the MLW production team really just been knocking them out of the park with these little backstage bio expose kind of things. I love them.
Absolutely. And now, without further ado, it's main event time. Yes, it's that time for talking is over, and now it's time for hitting. And there was a whole lot of hitting in this one. Calvin Tankman versus Irie for that WXW Unified Championship. And literally, that was just the hitting was on the menu, all kinds. This was as hard hitting as it could be. This was a literal hoss fight of two epically talented individuals that took it every which way. And just to see Calvin Tankman get rocked to the point where he was teetering in the center of the ring from that boot kick from Irie, and to see Irie literally be wrapped like a pretzel around the ropes, it was fantastic. But Irie has to land 2 big boom lariats to score the win. And he does. Finally puts Tankman down with the second one, because the first one really didn't connect. But it was incredible. And the show of respect at the end of the match between Tankman and Irie was phenomenal as well. We always love to see two guys who go at it hard, but respect each other at the end of the day. And it was great to see that. And I cannot wait to see Calvin Tankman go at anybody from New Japan that they bring in, or anybody else from WXW, or anybody else from, AAA or anybody, because Calvin Tankman can go. And that dude needs to get some singles gold around him. Like, he's had the tag gold, that's great, but we definitely need to see that open weight title, or I would love to see Tankman versus Alex Kane, because there is still unfinished business from a few years ago when he took Tankman out of the Opera Cup final, or the Oprah Cup, whatever you want to call it. But Rob, what did you think of this match?
I thought the match was a banger. They beat the hell out of each other. There was a lot of hard hits. Calvin took a back bump on the outside that just looked ruthless, because he had no padding there. The lariats from Irie were just deadly. Like you said, Calvin Tankman is a incredible talent. what we've all seen from Alex Kane over the last 2 years, that could just as well be Calvin Tankman 2 years from now. He's incredibly. We've seen him work live, or at least I've seen him. I'm pretty sure you have too. He's just like, he's incredible. When he's not working MLW, he's just as good. Like he's really, really talented as a pro wrestler. I think he's almost just, the only thing holding him back maybe is just he's too nice. He's got to get meaner. Even when he's being mean, I'm still like, I want to give you a hug, bro. Like he's just got to be like meaner. So Calvin Tankman's got already a lot of skill, but he's got tons of upside. He's still pretty young, and it's going to be exciting watching his career rise, because we live vicariously through these dudes. So love watching this. The match was great. Great seeing Irie back in MLW. Uh, Given that MLW's got such a small core roster, and they do bring in a lot of people for short-term deals or one-offs or whatever like that, I love that they're going out and reaching out to New Japan and bringing in some people from there. We've seen such great talent come over from Dragon Gate, from Skywalker. Matt Striker mentioned that. Speaking of which, Matt Striker really on point this episode. Popped me a couple times with some comments. He was great. But yeah, solid match, solid episode of Fusion. It was a fun one to rewind.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. And so a couple little tidbits before we wrap this one up. Next week, Alex Kane will have a press conference to talk about his next title fight. And that'll be next week on MLW Fusion. And then at the end of this match, Jacob Fatu, he's in the back. He's got something to say. And he's excited. He's excited about New Japan coming. He's excited about Minoru Suzuki coming. And he says Suzuki has never run into an oos before. And he's just hoping that could happen. So if at Slaughterhouse on October 14th, we are going to get Jacob Fatu versus Minoru Suzuki, shut up and take my money. And everyone out there, pay the $7.99, because this will not fucking disappoint. Okay? Again, Jacob Fatu versus Minoru Suzuki. If this is where they're going, this is the best person next to Calvin Tankman or Alex Kane I would love to see step into the ring with arguably one of the greatest combat fighters of all fucking time. Okay? I'm throwing that out there.
Yeah, people know, but some of them maybe don't, that Minoru Suzuki's a shoot fighter too. Like, he fought in Pancras, which was supposed to be work shoe fights, but very few of them were ever worked. Like, they really just beat the shit out of each other. Like, Minoru Suzuki's a legit badass. He's not just out there in the ring working. He can twist you up and beat you down. So I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. Suzuki's in the twilight of his career, probably gonna be his last run that he's been doing. So let's do it. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. I mean, anywhere and everywhere, any promotion that can get their hands on this guy, do it. Impact's brought him in. MLW's bringing him in. AEW brought him in. I would love to see him do a one-off in WWE if it was possible, but WWE doesn't really bring in the one-offs anymore, ever since like the Mike Tyson era, if you will.
No.
So I don't know if that'll ever happen, but regardless of the fact, Suzuki is coming to MLW, to Slaughterhouse, which is going to be incredible. And yeah, that's it. Oh, I forgot to ask you. What did you think of the Weapons of Mass Destruction match? There was no COVID in a box. There was no anthrax, but the biohazard box was there, and we did get to see the fireworks and the face melting again. So, you know.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to get on that.
I know. I've been it's been a little busy this week with work and band and other stuff. So I'm waiting till I have a nice little bit of time to sit down and fully enjoy the pay-per-view.
Absolutely. It's 2.5 hours of nothing but absolute entertainment. So
great.
You will enjoy it. All right, guys, that's it for this one. This rewind is in the can. Again, thank you so much for watching, listening, wherever you get your ear candy and your eye candy. I mean, if you want to stare at us, you know, hey, whatever floats your boat, I guess. For me and the one and only Uncle Bobby B, peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Adios.